Pre-recorded, this is the Red Ticket Blues podcast. I am Brian Buckley. This is being recorded on January 4th to hit the internets on January 5th, 2016. Happy New Year. How's everybody doing? You can always listen to the show on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at BrianBuck13 and at Red Ticket Blues. Happy New Year, everyone! Did you have a resolution? Did you break it already? Did you already regret the gym membership? It's sitting under a pile of mail in your living room that you won't even use because you're lazy and useless. How many people actually had a resolution not to drink, but unfortunately, New Year's Eve coincided with a Friday? New Year's Day was a Friday. How many people had a resolution for about 24 hours maybe before they broke it already? Weak people. Remember I quit drinking for a month? Well, I didn't do it either, so I guess I'm weak. In fact, I'm back on it. So, actually, today I am drinking a Sweetwater Extra Pale 420. And I'll tell you, it's pretty damn good. I recommend Sweetwater. I had this in an airport in Charlotte or Atlanta years ago, and now it seems to be making its way up north. Like a virus or something, I don't know. But it's very good. Everyone likes viruses. And I definitely suggest it. It's my wife's not even a huge pale ale. I guess she kind of is, but it's sweet. It's good. It's Sweetwater. Anyways, enough of that. The NFL regular season is over. There's no doubt about that. And New York football is officially over as well. The Tom Coughlin era is over with the New York Giants. He resigned today. And the Jets, well, the Jets in classic heartbreaking Jets fashion, broke hearts. I was going to say like Justin Bieber, but God, that's just terrible. So they broke hearts like any teen dream hero. My brother-in-law Joe, soon-to-be brother-in-law Joe, will come on a little later and we'll talk Jets. Before that, we'll get into the rest of the NFL, and later on, we'll get into a few different things. A documentary on Netflix that everyone seems to be into right now, which is the Making a Murderer documentary, 10 episodes about Stephen Avery. And what do you know? Everyone's a goddamn law expert, Ellison. Everyone wants to work for the Innocence Project because they want to help him. What's your basis? What's your background? I saw a documentary. We'll talk about that. We will also get into Dan Harren, retired pitcher now. Dan Harren went to Twitter today, and it was pretty funny, actually. It gets you inside the mind of a pitcher. Maybe sometimes a little overrated. We'll put it that way. But let's start with football, and we'll also talk about some scumbag in Indiana. We'll go through that too. What a tease, scumbag in Indiana. All right, so let's go with this here. So there's gonna be a lot of games with the who cares. Okay.
You know what? Who cares?
Damn straight. So New Orleans, Atlanta. Speaking of games nobody cares about, New Orleans wins. That could be the end of the Sean Peyton era. He's on the hot seat. That's someone that you can't say either way. He's going to be fired. There's certain coaches that you know, either today, tomorrow, this week, they're gone. Sean Payton is sort of that one that could rock back and forth. So we don't know that, but he ends. If that's his last game, he ends 20-17 against the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons. You've heard me here, and I'm done losing money on them. I'm not betting on them. I stopped betting on them. I've lost enough. 5-0 and 8-8. Just detract. Jesus, just detract. Jets, we'll get into that. Detroit, Chicago. Again, no one cares about that game. Baltimore, Cincinnati. Cincinnati won a game they needed to. Not sure if there's John Harbaugh is going anywhere in Baltimore. Probably not. But with healthy Joe Flacco next year, I think everything will be all right. Now, Cincinnati is going into the postseason. They're going into the postseason in a wild card game against their division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk a little bit about that. The Steelers beat the Cleveland Browns, who, let's be honest, the Cleveland Browns are an embarrassment to football, and they have been for a while. Actually, last year, they had that ray of sunshine. Other than that, they've been garbage. Johnny Manziel, anyone seen him? Remember, this is the part of media that just makes me sick. The media made this guy. The media made Manziel. Try saying that 3 times fast. Media made Manziel. Yeah, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. Told you. This AWOL son of a bitch. Yes, I said that. You know what? Because I'm so sick of this guy who has barely any talent. Maybe he does. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe he does have talent, but he hasn't shown it. And football is not his priority. We'll put it that way. Supposed to be dealing with concussion protocol, cited in Las Vegas, doesn't show up for the game. Who the hell does this guy think he is? I mean, and now the rumors are you hear that he's going to Dallas. Talk about a media shitstorm just created. Wait for that first bad game from Tony Romo. Wait for that one time where Des Bryant isn't happy and says something along the lines or alludes to, I'd rather have Johnny Manziel in there. The fans will eat that shit up. So Dallas could be an entertaining team next year if they go with Johnny Manziel, because I doubt he's going to be on any other team if it's not the Cowboys. That's what I'm saying. But let's not let's give the victor go the spoils. I mean, Pittsburgh actually won the game, and because of the Jets' loss, Pittsburgh is in the playoffs. They'll take on Cincinnati. We'll talk about that. Speaking of those Dallas Cowboys, they ended a very, very disappointing season by losing to the Washington Redskins, a game that Dallas was favored in. I guess Vegas thought that Dallas would be resting, Washington would be resting a lot of their players. Didn't matter. 34-23. Washington the victory. They didn't really have much to play for there, as they had already clinched the NFC East. Jacksonville and Houston. 9-7, not the greatest record, but they turned their season around. Looked like they were going down the dumps quickly, and yours truly was definitely beating that drum, and they've turned their season around, and they will be also in the playoffs. Who are they taking on? They'll be taking on another juggernaut that just can't lose, that being the Kansas City Chiefs. Another game that doesn't matter, Tennessee and Indianapolis. What can you say? I mean, Tanny versus Josh Freeman. I mean, that's what we're looking at in that game. My God, Josh Freeman apparently was, serving ice cream or something a few weeks ago. Something I saw. Pagano was some sort of head coach Chuck Pagano was leading some sort of chant, or those speeches in the. Bill Burr was talking about this. The speeches in the locker room where men are in various states of dress and. Stuff we really don't need to see. I don't understand those shots. Can we just wait till everyone puts a shirt on? Can we just everyone stay in there in their regular uniform until the cameras get out of there? I don't know. It's just uncomfortable. Yes, I'm that uncomfortable. What will I say to my grandchildren? Miami, and this was a big one. New England, who could have clinched home field advantage here. They lose to Miami. Brady hurt. Who knows? He'll probably be fine, though, with the week off as they're the number 2 seed and they get a bye. But New England's got some holes, man. They of all the teams, they are going to be benefiting the most from this bye. New York, Philadelphia, and what can you say? It's the end of a great era, a terrible season for Tom Coughlin. As, like I said earlier, he resigned a record of 170 wins and 150 losses, 20 games over 500, 2 Super Bowl champions, a very odd career with the New York Giants. It was either boom or bust, for the Giants. It was either just the top of the mountain or just god-awful. I mean, not god-awful, but pretty bad. Yeah, I'll say god-awful. Not god-awful, but not good. Oh, Brian, stop spitting semantics here, because of shit. Tom Coughlin, what can you say? I think the Giants gave him the respect he deserved by allowing him to resign, because no one really believes he voluntarily resigned on this. Come on, let's not be stupid. And, by the way, I went out to watch the second half of the Jets game, and, I sit down at this seat, and the woman next to me, I say to the waitress, hey, give it the Jets game up there. Woman next to me, no, I'm kind of watching the Giants. You're watching a fucking meaningless game over a goddamn de facto playoff game? Shit. Waitress took care of me on another TV, but I was ready to explode. Not really. Carolina, Tampa Bay. Carolina took care of business in a game that really didn't matter. And what else we got here? Oakland, Kansas City. This was a game. This was a close game. Oakland, some great plays down the end there. Spiking the ball. And they didn't have enough time to do the fumbles and all sorts of shit. That's my analysis for that game. But Kansas City, again, they'll be in the playoffs. Arizona versus Seattle. Arizona didn't come to play, and I don't think they really cared. They didn't have anything to play for. Seattle, just when you think Seattle's ready to die, they're there. Every year, it seems like. Well, maybe the other one, the Super Bowl, they were favorites, but last year, I mean, come on, they had that bad start. They're rising again. Seattle's 10-6. And in this mediocre league, there's only a few great teams. Seattle's 10-6. So it pains me to see it because I find them just very. You have like the good guy in Russell Wilson, the church boy, the choir boy, the one who masks off concussions by a single drop of water. Hydrogen and oxygen. That's all you need. That you can just get rid of concussions. The guy, he walks on water, and the rest of the team's just obnoxious. The rest of the team is just obnoxious. They're decent. Michael Bennett's always got a comment with something. I haven't heard much from Richard Sherman this year, and Cam Chancellor, and Marshawn Lynch hasn't been playing lately. He may be back, may not, but I just find that defense obnoxious, but they're good. They're not as good as they used to, but they're still good. And, of course, we all love... Well, let's get to this. St. Louis, San Francisco, the No One Gives a Shit Bowl. The Tomasula, the San Francisco 49ers head coach, we'll miss him and his sweet farting. If you have never heard that, go on YouTube, look up Tomasula fart when he farts at that press conference and makes that face. There's no chair moved because sometimes you hear a fart and you go, someone moved a chair, or there's a microphone. No. He makes a facial expression. He farted. We'll miss that. Maybe he'll get a job again. We can only hope for more. More farts. What can I say? St. Louis, again, 7-9. Another disappointing season for the great Jeff Fisher, which he continues to get a job. Defies logic. And the big game here, Denver, San Diego. So Denver's down 13-6, and Osweiler's not looking good. And, the Denver's got a lot to play for here. They can, at the beginning of the day, they could have gone all the way to a 5th seed, but here they are. They could lock up the number 1 seed. And here he comes, Peyton Manning. Jim Nantz must have just been beside himself giddy in that booth. I don't know how he contained himself. He probably had to be strapped down by Phil Simms. And Phil was saying, we talked about this week while he straps him down. So Jim probably got so loaded last night and just said poetic things as he poured a bottle of scotch every time, saying, you know what? This one's for Peyton. Peyton did a great job. Peyton, I want to give you a green jacket. But he came in, and listen, Peyton Manning didn't really do much, let's be honest. The running game was out of control. C.J. Anderson, Peyton comes in there. Yeah, he throws a nice few passes quick. C.J. Anderson did the most of that first drive. He was C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman, let's be honest. But, hey, Peyton Manning, you got to imagine he's going to be the starter now. Going in, he's going to have a bye. You have to imagine Peyton Manning is there again. And let's talk quickly. I mentioned this last week about Peyton Manning and HGH. There's a second confirmed source by Al Jazeera. We don't know who they are. So a second source confirmed by Al Jazeera when we don't know who any of these people are really means very little. It's basically shit. Now, I haven't seen the documentary, I'll admit. Don't you have a podcast? Shut up. I have not seen the documentary, but I have seen the recanting from Sly, and my father put it best. He said, it looks like he's got a gun to his head, like it's some sort of North Korea admission. They're treating me good. Hey, they're treating me very good, very good. Or even Elian Gonzalez telling everyone while looking off the camera, saying, I really want to be here. I like it here. I guess it's a little different. He's 5 years old, but here's the thing with Peyton Manning. No one likes a cheater. No one likes people breaking the rules. Technically, he wasn't breaking the rules here. But the main reason we don't like steroids in sports is because it affects the integrity of the game. Now, what happened was Peyton Manning was having several neck surgeries. Have you ever had a neck surgery? I haven't. But I'll say, if I had 4 neck surgeries, like Peyton Manning did, I'd be worried about my quality of life after football. In fact, I wouldn't be even playing football. I think Peyton Manning is playing with fire every time he plays a football game. That's my personal opinion. But I would get HGH injections. I would get whatever I need to have a quality of life. Now, here's the kicker. No, he's a quarterback. Gotcha. That was so bad. Here's the thing. How many games did Peyton Manning's HGH injection or affiliation, how many games did that put the integrity at risk for the NFL? Go ahead. 0. He didn't play in one, according to this source, he didn't play one game. He wasn't even on a team. That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. And you hear and I got on the Boston fans, the Patriot fans specifically, who, again, are so obsessed with Peyton Manning. It's really odd. But they're complaining, they're saying, his is not getting the same amount of exposure that Tom Brady's did. And I explained why last week. And if you need to go back and listen, then go back and listen, or because I'm not going to repeat it, and I won't. I just won't. There's nothing you can do about it. In fact, Jim Nantz said with Francesa on Sunday, he will not mention the Peyton Manning HGH story because it's garbage. It's not true. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but I mean, how can you say that? You have to at least say, there have been allegations, this week from Peyton Manning, but really nothing concrete has happened. That's what you have to do. So Jim is just too excited, sitting in that little what's that little cabin there in Augusta. What the hell's the name of it? Shit. Would have been funny. It's so bad now. Yes, they were upset that, Peyton Manning's story, his allegations weren't a big enough story for everyone to digest. Why aren't we talking about it 24/7 in this cycle of life? Why aren't we digesting it every moment and just debating? Well, here's the thing. I'll ask you an even bigger question. There were other people on that list. 2 players that are playing in the freaking playoffs this week. And while neither of them are as big as Peyton Manning, one of them's pretty big. He's a big face. He's one of the few NFL players whose face, not with a helmet on or doing, their face is seen all the time and in commercials. That being Clay Matthews. Why haven't we heard one freaking word about Clay Matthews? I think with James Harrison we all expect it because he's an animal. And he takes a lot of cheap shots. Maybe we say, well, that's expected out of him. That explains a lot. Clay Matthews, not one word. Both of those gentlemen are playing in the playoffs this weekend. I hit the table to prove a point. No one says anything. Just thought I'd bring that up. So let's quickly go through a preview of the playoffs. Yeah, it's a playoffs. So Saturday, 4:30, be at Kansas City against Houston. These are 2 teams, like I said, that really started off the year. On Halloween, both teams were 2-5. Both of them were 2-5. Since then, since Halloween, they are 16-2. Think about that for a second. 16-2. So that should be a great, great game, and that will be played in Houston. The other game we got Saturday, and this game scares me. This game scares me if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Yeah, they're playing in Cincinnati. They're playing Pittsburgh. And we don't know. Andy Dalton is optimistic. He wants to be there, but we don't know anything. He's from what I've read is he's pushing it. He's pushing a little hard to come back as your first game. And listen, Andy Dalton's playoff record is atrocious, as we know. So I don't know if Wonder Ginger can do it. I see heartbreak for Cincinnati Bengals fans in the first round once again. That's what I see. And then on Sunday, we have Seattle versus Minnesota, which I'm looking forward to. I didn't even get into, the Sunday night game last night, which I guess was good. I looked at it at halftime. I was watching Making a Murder, and I looked at it and said, wow, 6-3, battle of kickers, holy shit. But I guess it got a little more interesting at the end. But Green Bay, what an unimpressive 10-6. How can you be more unimpressive at 10-6? Can you? Answer me. Minnesota's 11-5. They actually end up winning the NFC North. But on Sunday, you will see Seattle, and that Seattle team that is just creeping on a come-up like Bone Thugs. Minnesota, 11-5. TCF Bank, they're playing in Minnesota. This is another game I'm very, very much looking forward to. I have a suspicion Seattle's going to win. I think they have momentum on their side. Minnesota is still a little raw. Adrian Peterson led the league, this is the 3rd time overall, but not again. He barely played last year. Led the league in rushing again, but I don't know. That game scares me. But I'll tell you, like I was just talking about those Green Bay Packers, they also play at 4:40 on Sunday against the Washington Redskins. Now, we laughed. We laughed when people said Kirk Cousins. We laughed. I think Washington wins this game. Green Bay is so unimpressive. They really are. They've started off 6-0. They're 4-6 since. It's almost like the tale of 2 teams. It really is. No one's ever said that before. I just made that up. Washington's going to win this game. I'm telling you right now. I'll release some spread picks of mine because I basically gave up on the season. I'll do that later on this week on Twitter. Remember, BrianBuck13 or at Red Ticket Blue. So, all right. So we have my future brother-in-law Joe here to talk about the Jets. Like I said, I was just telling Joe before we started recording that I didn't get to see a lot of the first half because DirecTV continued to buffer and buffer and buffer, and the game would have taken probably about 7.5 hours for me to watch. But I was able to go see the second half and in a bar, and I don't know if it meant anything or not, but in the fourth quarter, Nat King Cole came on the jukebox twice with Unforgettable. That could have gone either way, but so it was obviously a bad outcome. Joe, you're a Jets fan. What were you expecting going into this game?
First of all, never watch the second half in a bar ever again after yesterday's performance. Honestly, I guess I wasn't counting on a win, so I'm not super disappointed. My only complaint is that being the best team not to make the playoffs is the worst team to be, because then you end up picking like 19th or 20th next year.
Right in the middle of the pack.
And I don't know. We still gotta. I loved how Fitzpatrick played this year, but we still need a QB of the future, and it's just gonna be. I don't know. I'm just 10 wins is nice, but with the fact that we had such an easy schedule this year because we won 4 games last year, next year is going to be probably tougher to make the playoffs.
Let's start with that. Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's had an amazing year. It was his best year ever. But that fourth quarter was rough to watch. He made no bones about it that he was disappointed, and I think that interception, that first interception there in the fourth quarter, where he had never thrown an interception in the red zone all year and never thrown an interception to when Eric Decker was the target. With all that being said, I mean, you talk about how you probably need a new quarterback. Do you think Ryan Fitzpatrick is here next year? There's a lot of free agents. Do you see him with the Jets?
I'm not actually familiar with who's available on free agency. I kind of feel like we have to rebuild through the draft. All the people who are in the playoffs right now have QBs who have really gotten them through the draft.
Right.
Fitzpatrick definitely could be here. I mean, he played well, and yesterday aside, I got to say it looked terrible to play in Buffalo yesterday with the wins, especially in the first quarter. You totally saw it. But I had no problems with him. As long as Fitzpatrick is somewhere in around 20th best QB in the league with the rest of this offense, maybe with another tight end. Jason Morrow was out all year, and who knows? I think we have a decent shot as long as we can, have a good enough defense too.
Geno Smith said he's going to be practicing 10 times harder because he's 10 times as hungry for next year. So I'm not sure if that's a promise or a threat. I guess everyone could take that either way they want. You talk about the wind. You almost. I mean, I had a feeling that the Jets were going to go down early in this game, but they were going to come back. And I know this is just silly, but you look at something like Dan Carpenter missing that extra point, getting pissed, and the helmet hitting him in the face. I mean, it's signs like that where you're almost just like, I think that this is sort of the Jets. Maybe it's their day. What struck me in the beginning of the game is, did we need that much Stephen Ridley? How much Stephen Ridley could one team possibly take when Chris Ivory, he had a total of 6 rushing attempts? Why Stephen Ridley? Do you have any idea why?
Well, actually, because Bilal Powell was out. That's usually Bilal Powell's role. And I think the Jets are actually 9-2 when Bilal Powell was playing this year. And he was out for the game, so there's nothing they could really do.
So are you trying to say that I'm wrong, Joe? Because how dare you come on this podcast and question me?
There is no right or wrong in this case. It's just how it worked out. But it looks like you're right based on how it worked out.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Chris Ivory, for a guy that's got 1,000 yards for the year, I mean, he had 6 rushing attempts. I mean, that's just – I understand Stephen Ridley was going to play a larger role, but you got to get Chris Ivory involved more in the game. Let's see. Now let's talk about the fourth quarter, because the fourth quarter really was just – it was brutal to watch, especially from a Jets defense that – that was their strength, their defense, especially the run defense. Third down after, and I'm not even a Jets fan, and it was painful watching. Third down after third down, even fourth downs, because Buffalo has nothing to play for, and Rex is actually for the first time managing the clock correctly and, taking gambles and winning. How painful was it watching them marching down the field play after play and converting for first downs.
Not to steal too much from the Buddhists, but once you have acceptance, it's not so painful. I didn't expect anything, and as a result, today here I am sitting content. I got to go to work and not hate myself.
Okay, so you're content, and listen, you're definitely minority when it comes to the Jets fans. Were you content when Kenbrell Tompkins dropped that ball, which could have been a surefire touchdown?
I got to say, I can't blame him. Like, he just kind of got hit from the side.
Oh, no, it was a tough play. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it was a dropped pass. I'm just saying. It wasn't like a drop pass like Marshall had earlier in the game or anything like that. It was a tough play. The guy was flying at him, but just what could have been on that play, even as a non-Jets fan watching that, it was rough for me to even.
It took a little while for me to process it. Like, it didn't quite register with me right away. Like, oh my God, he dropped the ball. It was more like, oh my God, he has a chance to catch it. And so maybe that's why I didn't scream my head off. I was just I guess I hung my head in despair. Like, oh wow, that almost won us the game.
I gotta admit, Joe, you are a very. I don't want to say the word positive because that's the wrong word. You're not negative either, but like
even keel.
Yeah, and maybe it's just hours of listening to sports radio that it's a little, I guess, refreshing to hear a team lose. I mean, Joe Benigno, obviously. Well, he didn't really blow up today, but he did. This is the worst, bro. This might have been the worst. Might have been the worst. So, I mean, hearing someone that you're just sort of like, oh, well, it's the Jets, and I was expecting this. It's different to hear, I have to say.
The key to happiness in life is low expectations, and when it comes to the Jets, I have very low expectations. I mean, next year with the Mets, I expect a lot, so it's going to hurt a lot harder when we do something like this. But this year, like I said, 10 wins is nice. We'll probably, if we're lucky, get to somewhere around this next year. And what were we really going to do in the playoffs was kind of what I was thinking the whole time. Like, maybe we could win a game if we're lucky, if something breaks our way, but this isn't.
You never know, though. I mean, with the AFC the way it is, sort of broken teams, so to speak. You never know. But you're right. I think everyone sort of looked at it with a grain of salt. They are the Jets. It's a first-year coach. While on the other side, Todd Bowles is a sixth straight Jet coach with a winning record their first year, and he's the first one actually in a while that hasn't made the playoffs their first year. Maybe that's a good thing.
Everyone kind of forgets that. You get a new head coach because your team sucked, so you have a high draft pick, and your schedule is crazy easy every year.
True.
It happens all over the league, but yeah, I mean, like Herm won I guess 10 games, and Rex won 10, and Mangini also. It's just kind of a thing that happens.
Man, Rex Ryan, he was eating that up with a spoon yesterday. I didn't hear a ton of comments from him after the game.
Even after the lipo?
I didn't even mean eating it up with a spoon in
sure.
that. Well, maybe I did.
You're a natural comedian.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Try the veal. I guess the one thing I'd have to say, and it's really not that big of a deal because the season's over and who really cares, but you have, I believe, the highest paid player on the team, Darrelle Revis, skipping out on the media after the game. You have a big problem with that?
I didn't even hear about it.
Okay.
I mean, I guess that's part of his job, so he should probably do it, but it's over. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's
he should probably do it because it's his job. That's what he's paid.
Exactly. But you're right, though. In a game like this, unless he was involved in the last play or something, you can't really get that crazy about it, I guess.
He did not look good, though.
No, he does not look like the old Darrelle Revis. He's still on many times. Well, yesterday he didn't. I mean, Sammy Watkins burned him several times.
Yeah.
And just like DeAndre Hopkins did earlier this year, too. But overall, he's still a good cornerback, but he is not the same guy that he was in his first tenure with the Jets.
He's still in the top tier, but he's not like a lockdown number one. Josh Norman will own him any day. Richard Sherman could possibly own him. It's a lot of, he's on the wrong side of 30, and he's got that nice deal, so who knows. But I trust him in terms of giving it 100%. I just don't know how much of that body might have taken its toll over time.
Joe, I want to thank you. We'll have to have you on again soon, especially with before let's do this real quick. Actually, New York Mets. You mentioned you're a Mets fan. Are you excited about the moves this offseason or disappointed with the lack of moves?
say again even keel. The Deaza deal kind of confounds me a little if that's what they think they're throwing in center field, and they've shut the door on Span supposedly and Cespedes obviously. I really want to see another bullpen arm. I would love to see them mimic the Royals with just a shutdown pen. That way they can get their guys 6-7 innings and end the game. But I think their offense is going to be better overall, even without Cespedes. So I'm thinking around the same 92, 94 kind of win season.
Does it bother you having Daniel Murphy with the Washington Nationals to get a big hit in a big game and the Mets season, something like that? Are you already foreseeing that, or do you have a little more positivity when it comes to the Mets?
I have faith. I'm a little sad that Murphy, after everything, went to the Nationals, but I don't fault him obviously. But yeah, I'm not expecting Daniel to hit a 3-run homer that ends our season.
All right,
which means it'll happen.
You basically put the stamp on it right there.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So I mentioned that show called Making a Murder, and I love crime documentaries. I really do. I love anything crime related. I think I definitely take after my mother in that, as she's sort of obsessed with that. But Making a Murder on Netflix is a 10-part series, about an hour each. If you're planning on watching this, I'll try not to give away too much, but if you're really worried, I'll put in the show notes when I stop talking about this. It's about Stephen Avery, a gentleman in Manitowoc County. Manitowoc County, those goddamn police officers, they're disgusting. He is wrongfully convicted of sexual assault after 18 years is released, and then within a year, he's a few days before he's about to receive an enormous settlement from the Manitowoc County, he is arrested for murder. And what happens is his nephew is also implicated in the murder. And there's if you like court proceedings, the second half of it is a lot of court proceedings, but it's very interesting. Now, can I say that Stephen Avery is completely innocent? Probably not. There are so many holes. This is like the shadiest cops you've ever seen. These are the shadiest cops you've ever seen. The documentary portrays them in a perfect way of just seeing that sinister look, those beady black eyes that you would have in any movie. It's almost like they took the warden from Shawshank Redemption and they just put him in different forms as lieutenant, officer, sheriff, whatever, and they all were there just stone-faced, ready to, kill someone if they had to. Lot of DNA evidence that doesn't match up. There's a lot of holes. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of holes, but there are some things that look very bad for Stephen Avery and his nephew. Excuse me. It's a little difficult. I'm in no way, making fun of people with learning disabilities, but it's clear they said that Stephen Avery and his cousin both have IQs under 80. They don't release the IQs of the rest of the family, but I don't know if it's that much better. There is a part where Stephen Avery's nephew Brendan and his mother are on a jailhouse telephone talking about what the definition of inconsistent is, and neither of them know. It's painful to listen to sometimes with the yeah. It's almost like a Canadian Chicago accent mixed together. But like I said, for entertainment purposes, it's a little rough sometimes. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up. I am a good everyone. I support everyone. I'm not a hater. So stop. But what has happened now from watching this documentary, all these people who own Netflix, they pay $8 a month to Netflix, have all of a sudden become detectives. They all work for the Innocence Project. They are signing petitions for the Manitowoc County, Wisconsin Department of Correction to release Stephen Avery. Free him. Why? Because I signed a petition. I made a hashtag. Cause monsters at it again, these sons of bitches. Let me tell you something. I watched the documentary. I have one more episode, I should say. Maybe that'll blow my mind. Maybe I should watch that. Highly doubtful. But this is telling me that these people feel they know something because they watched a documentary. This is where people have become now. It's probably the same people who held signs saying, I am Cecil, you're not a lion. Or I am this, you're not that. You see Michael Moore contesting Trump's anti-Muslim comments, went outside Trump Towers with a sign that said, I am Muslim. Well, no, I don't think you are. But he's not aging well either. listen, he wasn't winning any beauty contests before. He wasn't winning Sexiest Man Alive. That's mine. I will get that in a few years. You just wait. Screw you. Trying to think of some guy. Fuck it, whatever. But back to it, it's these people that want to feel like they're part of something. So you know what? I watched a documentary. Yeah, instead of watching Gilmore Girls or something else or 30 for 30 or whatever, I decided to watch Making a Murderer. So now I know about innocence. I know about the judicial system. So let's sign a petition and we'll go to the top. Ugh, God, I hate everybody. Can we get the Innocence Project involved, and then if they say that there's something up, then I'll get behind it. All these people, such brain-dead idiots. And you wonder the country's in the state it is. Whatever. Fart noise. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to talk about today was I talked about a dirtbag in Indiana here. Indiana bar manager shuts down diner who complained after customer was having a heart attack. So there was a woman. You know, there's a song probably that starts. Holly Jones. It's on Facebook or some sort of social media. Who dined at the, the Kilroy's Bar and Grill in Indiana. She had a big party. Said her group spent more than $700 at the restaurant and was discussing an issue with the bills when staff members walked away from the woman. They said, "What's going on?" Someone was having a heart attack. And this is what Holly Jones said. I'll quickly go through it. "I will never go back to this location for New Year's Eve." There's your first mistake. Why are you going out for New Year's Eve? You just stay home. That's what I did with brother and girlfriend. We watched Carrie Underwood be very upset with whoever was there. Don't really remember. I was kind of drunk, so it doesn't matter. But you stay home. You get pizza. You drink. You laugh. You don't go out. I like how I'm so definite and finite about it. No one goes out. Stop it. Well, no one was at home watching college football because those ratings were terrible. After the way we were treated when we spent $700 and having our meal ruined by watching a dead person be wheeled out from an overdose, my night has been ruined. Every year we have come to Kilroy's. Get a fucking life. To enjoy New Year's Eve, and tonight we were screamed at and had the manager walk away from us. We were trying to figure out our bill being messed up. The manager also told us someone dying was more important than us being there, making us feel like our business didn't matter. But I guess allowing a junkie in the building to overdose on your property is more important than paying customers who are spending a lot of money. Apparently the waitress screamed at them. I guess that didn't happen. But the restaurant owner, then sent back to them, "Hi, Holly. Thanks for reaching out. We love feedback, whether it be positive or negative. I especially like the feedback like this so others can see the disgusting people that we have to deal with sometimes. First of all, the overdosing junkie that you speak of was a 70-year-old woman who had a heart attack. Thankfully, she was revived at the hospital and survived. It sounds like you were very concerned about her, so I thought you should know. There are rotten people, and then there are just scum of the earth. Holly Jones, you want to come on and defend yourself, you're welcome to come on the Red Ticket Blues podcast any fucking day, Holly Jones. The people like this know no bounds. What would they complain about? They'll complain about anything. I mean, I leave reviews sometimes for places when places are really bad, but I normally don't leave reviews. But that's a new low, man. Stupid people. That reminds me of the Adam West in that Family Guy where he's butting in front of somebody giving birth, and he's just like, "Excuse me, my arm is asleep." Some people think some people are just sociopaths, and they think the world revolves around them. Don't you talk to me. I'm not a sociopath. Shut up. And to end the podcast today, we're going to do a quick thing. Chris Harren, former pitcher, pitched for a lot of teams, took to Twitter today. And I guess, he was just on an exercise bike. He's retired now, but he just started saying random things that I thought was great. You know, a lot of athletes don't ever let you inside their life or in their mind. And I think a lot of pitchers, fans seem to think that, you know what, they're the smartest people in the world. They're so crafty. They're so so strategic. There's lots of X's and O's and all sorts of quotients in their head every time they throw a pitch. I mean, you think about it. Yes, they have their advantages. They're on a hill. They're throwing lots of miles an hour. I just said lots of miles an hour. But think about that, though. They're throwing 90 miles an hour that close, and let's be honest, The last time someone ever even bat over 400 was 80 years ago, and you know what? That means 60% of the time he failed, and no one's even been that good since then. So we like to think of pitchers as these just savants of their craft, basically. So Dan Harren said, these are some of his tweets. I'm on an exercise bike, bored. So here are some things about my baseball career that come to mind. I went into almost every start the last few years thinking, how the hell am I going to get these guys out? To think that an athlete, outside of a rookie, or someone just getting shelled over and over again, to think that an athlete doesn't have like that confidence, I think is sometimes just mind-bending to us that, oh my God, they don't think they can pitch a no-hitter every single time. I don't want them on my team. We win! There's at least 3 or 4 times I thought the team plane was going to crash. That, would like to hear that. Costanza. Remember when he asked Keith Hernandez, aren't you ever afraid the planes will crash? Drive him to the airport. Here's another one. I would count out the days about a month in advance to see if I was going to pitch in Coors Field. As we all know, Phil Simms told us this last night, in case you didn't know. The altitude is a big deal there. So I had no idea before Phil Simms told us. He must have got this knowledge after he strapped down Jim Nantz when Peyton Manning came in. But thank you, Phil. What did he say a few weeks ago? It was one of the worser passes, the batter passes he's thrown. Come on, about to criticize the way people talk, and then you can't even get a sentence out. Moving on. One of my favorite moments ever was hitting a homer off Chris Carpenter. I took my time running the bases. That's understandable for a pitcher doing that. I gave up 11 runs in Toronto and got the win one time. I had to take Imodium most days I pitched to plug myself up. So there were no Hershey squirts all over that uniform, because it would have seemed we have HD now, and especially with 4K TVs coming to be the norm. No one wants to see that. My only superstition was to make sure I had 2 glasses of wine the night before I pitched. This ties in with the Imodium. Maybe for any other people having problems out there, if, all of a sudden things are quote-unquote running, maybe this will help. I gave up so many home runs because I didn't want to walk people. That and because I threw 85-mile-an-hour meatballs sometimes. Shows you that, pitchers don't really care sometimes when they hit home runs. Obviously they do, but Hillary Clinton says aliens may have visited Earth already. Well, Dan Harren did not say this. I'm just looking at the Daily News here. I only hit like 5 to 7 people on purpose. Well, that's interesting. My threat to retire didn't quite work last offseason. No, it didn't. He was traded to the Marlins, I believe, and said, if I'm ever traded there, I'll retire. And he was traded there, and he did not retire. Sometimes when the count was 3-1, I would just throw it down the middle and hope for the best. People pop up in batting practice, right? That's an interesting strategy, because, again, that goes back to what I said, that we always think that pitchers they're charting everything, and they're watching videos. Fuck it, it's 3-1, throw it down the middle. Hopefully that goes up in the air and someone points and gets it. Okay, I'm done with the bike. Time to go lift. Buys and tries. Retired life. So that's Dan Harren. And that's the podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening, and I hope your new year is going well. You probably broke all your resolutions. No one can. You can't rely on you, but I can rely on you because you always listen. And if you do, and you will, you can always listen to the show on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at BrianBuck13 and at RedTicketBlues. Like the show on Facebook and leave a review. Listen, I see the downloads. I know it's not the best part of this podcast. The podcast is over. Leave a review. It helps me. It really does. I know you're listening. So when you're done with us, go over and say, Jesus, let me leave a review so he's not talking to me anymore. Yes, I'm talking to you because you're listening. Leave a review, and it really helps. I'll have a special guest Wednesday. So check that out. And, of course, the Thursday Talk, another guest. So 3 podcasts in a row, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Get with it. Special thanks to my brother-in-law, Joe. And with all that being said, I'm out of here.